Archangel Michael says, this message was stopped again and again, yet it refused to remain in silence, because the heart of heaven could no longer bear the weight of your pain and the silence of your waiting, and now, at this very hour, by the authority of God Himself, it has been released into your life so that nothing may stop what was always meant to reach you in perfect divine timing, not a second too soon, not a moment too late. Type 222 if you know God is with you. There is a reason you are hearing these words right now, not days ago, not weeks earlier, but in this very moment, because your soul has been quietly aching for answers that you dared not speak aloud, and the tears you hid from the world have reached the throne of the Most High, who has seen every hidden wound, every quiet cry, and every moment where you felt like your strength was slipping away, and it is because of that heaven has opened this sacred path to you. Like this video and subscribe to this channel if you believe God never leaves you. Even when you felt completely forgotten by everyone around you, even when the silence of your room felt louder than your heartbeat, God was watching you with a love so deep and endless that no darkness could ever drown it, and even though you thought you were alone, He was already sending signs through the wind, the sky, and your dreams, preparing your heart for this exact moment where everything begins to change gently, quietly, yet powerfully from the inside out. There is something very important you need to understand right now. This message was blocked not by people, but by spiritual forces that trembled at the thought of you knowing how deeply loved, chosen, and protected you are by the kingdom of God, because once you know the truth, no darkness, no lie, and no curse will have power over your life anymore, and your soul will begin to walk in light, strength, healing, and divine courage. Type 1919 to embrace healing. You have been waiting for something, a breakthrough, a miracle, a sign that your prayers were not falling into empty space, and this, right here, is the sign your spirit has longed for, the whisper you felt in your chest when you couldn't explain why your heart was stirring in the middle of the night, and now you finally know why. Because heaven was trying to reach you, and this time, it is not going to be delayed again. Think of a sound that can calm your thoughts, clear your stress, and help you attract new opportunities. People describe it as feeling lighter, more hopeful, and ready to receive abundance. This is not about luck but about opening your heart and mind to greater possibility. Click the link in the description and comments below to experience this sound and begin stepping toward a life filled with peace and prosperity today. The blessing that is now being poured over your life is not something you can see with your eyes right away, but it will begin like a soft stirring in your soul, like peace rising where panic once lived, like a calm strength wrapping around your mind when everything outside seems uncertain, because this is how God heals, gently, deeply, and in ways the world cannot understand or take away. God has not forgotten your dreams, even the ones you buried under pain and silence, even the ones you were too afraid to speak aloud, because they felt too far away, too broken, or too delayed to be possible, but He kept them safe in His hands, breathing life into them until the perfect moment, and now He is beginning to unfold what He has been preparing for you in quiet places, even while you thought nothing was moving at all. Do not let the delays of the past define your belief in what is coming, because delays are not denials, and what was blocked before was only protected, hidden for a time so that when it arrived, no one and nothing could interfere with it, not even your own doubts or fears, because this blessing has been tailor-made for your soul, for your healing, for your restoration, and for the purpose you were born to carry into this world. The pain you went through was not in vain, and the tears you cried were not unnoticed, because every ache, every heartbreak, and every moment of silence was seen by the one who counts every hair on your head, and not a single second of your suffering was wasted, because through it all, God was shaping you, preparing you, and teaching your heart to hold something greater than anything you've lost. Even now, the holy presence of God is closer to you than your breath, holding your heart like a precious jewel, whispering words of comfort that your spirit can hear even if your ears cannot, saying, "My child, I have not abandoned you, I have not overlooked you, and I have not delayed my promises. Everything is unfolding right on time, even the things that feel slow, even the things that seem lost, even the places that feel broken." Type 666 if you believe in God's grace. You are not weak because you have struggled, and you are not failing because you are still waiting. In fact, your waiting has been worship, your tears have been prayers, and your endurance is a reflection of how deeply your spirit still trusts even when you don't feel strong, and it is because of this unwavering strength buried deep in your soul that God has marked you for something holy, something sacred, and something life-changing that no one can take away. Stay with me until the end, for this message was sent to bring light into your life. Let this be the moment you stop carrying guilt for things you could not control. Let this be the moment you release shame that never belonged to you in the first place, because the God who formed you is not angry with you, He is not disappointed in you, and He is not punishing you. Instead, He is reaching for you with open arms, with a heart full of mercy, and with a plan to heal every wound that you thought would never stop aching. This is not just a message, it is a divine encounter, a spiritual awakening, a moment written in eternity just for your soul to receive exactly what it needs to take one more breath, one more step, one more chance to believe again, because what you are stepping into now is not just a new chapter, it is a new dimension of faith, hope, healing, and heavenly guidance that will lead you into every promise meant for your name. You don't need to understand everything right now, you only need to open your heart wide enough to receive what God is trying to give you: peace that passes understanding, joy that makes no sense in the middle of a storm, and strength that rises from ashes and broken pieces, because His love does not wait for you to be perfect, it meets you right where you are and gently restores everything that was torn. And as this message ends, let it be the beginning of something sacred within you, a soft turning of your heart back toward the light, a gentle reaching for the hand of the one who never left, and a peaceful knowing that no matter what has happened before, what is coming next is covered by grace, surrounded by love, and held together by the unshakable promises of God that cannot fail. Archangel Michael says, this second part of the message reaches you with the quiet urgency of heaven, not to alarm your heart, but to awaken something sacred within you that has been asleep for too long, something that was once full of light but got dimmed by the weight of life, and now, by God's mercy, is being gently stirred awake with every word spoken over your soul right now. Type 1414 to step into divine protection. When the Lord sets His eyes on someone, it is not by accident, and you have been chosen not because you are perfect, but because your heart has endured storms that others didn't see, and still you chose to believe in goodness, even when goodness felt distant, and because of this, heaven has recorded your resilience as worship, your stillness as faith, and your longing as a sacred offering that has now returned to you multiplied with grace. You may not understand the timing of it all, and sometimes the silence you felt seemed endless, like the heavens were shut and your prayers were floating in emptiness, but not a single one was lost, not a single cry went unheard, because the God you serve does not store your tears in forgotten places. He treasures them, and He writes them into the unfolding story of your healing and restoration. This message was not released easily. It was fought for, battled over in unseen realms, because what it carries is not just encouragement, but breakthrough, and the enemy of your soul trembled at the thought of you receiving these words, because once you do, your spirit will begin to remember who you truly are in the eyes of God. Not broken, not abandoned, not forgotten, but chosen, loved, and deeply protected. Your mind holds a hidden ability to invite more ease and abundance into your life. This sound wave has been designed to gently activate that state of openness, helping you shift from worry into trust. Many say it brings clarity and helps align with opportunities they didn't notice before. Click the link in the video description and comments below to listen today and welcome the flow of prosperity into your journey. You have been walking through a season that felt like silence, but it was not empty, it was sacred. It was the quiet space where God was rebuilding you from the inside out, removing what didn't belong, healing wounds that went deeper than words, and preparing your soul to carry the very blessing you once thought was impossible, but is now coming forth gently, faithfully, and fully. The reason you are still here, still breathing, still listening, even after everything you've been through, is because the power of God has been surrounding you even in moments when you couldn't feel it, and while the world saw your tired eyes and weary steps, heaven saw the light that refused to go out inside of you, and that is why this moment is holy. It is not a coincidence. It is the fulfillment of something long promised and now divinely activated. There were things that tried to break you, things that came so fast, so unexpected, that you had no time to prepare, and you wondered if you would ever feel whole again. But even in those places of deep pain, God was near, whispering truth into your soul, guarding your spirit from collapse, and now He is lifting you out of that valley, not the same as before, but stronger, wiser, softer, and more deeply connected to His love. You do not have to fear what comes next, because the hand of God is going before you, making crooked places straight, calming storms that have not even arrived, and lining up divine appointments that you cannot miss, because this new season of your life is not based on your striving or your performance, but on the gentle unfolding of divine mercy, timing, and favor that is being poured upon your path. There are dreams in your heart that are not dead, only dormant, and this message is being sent to breathe life back into them, not to rush or pressure you, but to remind you that what God placed within you is still alive, still holy, still valuable, and when the time is right, those dreams will not just return, they will flourish, because they are rooted in faith, watered by tears, and nurtured by divine love. Type 1010 if you trust in God's timing. Every time you felt unseen, God was seeing you. Every time you felt unheard, He was listening. Every time you thought you were forgotten, He was carrying you, and while others looked at the surface, God was looking at your heart, your quiet obedience, your steady endurance, and your fragile hope, and He was proud of you, not because you had it all together, but because you kept going when everything around you said give up. Type Amen if your faith is strong, and share this video with 9 people of faith to welcome blessings and miracles into your life. You may not recognize yourself in the mirror anymore, because the journey has left scars, but even those scars are sacred, because they tell the story of a soul that did not collapse under pressure, a heart that did not become bitter, and a spirit that chose to keep trusting even when the outcome was unclear. And heaven rejoices not in perfection, but in that kind of quiet, unshakable perseverance. This moment, this message, this divine interruption in your day, is not just encouragement, it is sacred alignment, it is a heavenly appointment, it is the turning point that heaven waited for, and now that you've received these words into your heart, the shift has already begun, not by force, but by grace, and not with noise, but with stillness, and every part of you that felt distant from God is now being drawn back by love, not shame. So let yourself rest, not because everything is fixed, but because everything is held, and you are no longer walking through life trying to prove your worth or earn your belonging, because you already belong, already matter, already carry a light that darkness cannot extinguish, and this light will lead you home, step by step, breath by breath, into a new season that feels like peace, like clarity, like hope wrapped in quiet joy. God is not done with you. In fact, He is just beginning something beautiful that no one will be able to take credit for except Him. And as this second part ends, let it echo in your soul as a soft, holy reminder: you are loved more deeply than words can hold, seen more clearly than you believe, and you are walking into a healing, a restoration, a blessing that was always written in heaven for you. Archangel Michael says, this message is still unfolding because the weight it carries cannot be given all at once, for your soul needs time to receive it fully, to breathe in each word slowly, like gentle rain falling over dry ground, because your heart has gone through storms that stripped it bare, and heaven, in its mercy, is restoring you layer by layer, with grace, not pressure, and with tenderness, not force. Every step you have taken, even the ones that felt uncertain or painful, has not been wasted, because your journey has been watched by the eyes of the one who sees beyond appearances, and while others may have seen failure, delays, or weakness, God saw the quiet strength you carried, the silent prayers you whispered in the dark, and the way your soul kept reaching even when your hands were empty. Type 888 to open doors of abundance. There were days you barely made it through, days when everything in you wanted to quit, yet something deeper, something unexplainable held you up, and that something was not just hope, it was God Himself, holding you together when you felt like breaking, standing beside you in invisible ways, and protecting your spirit from battles that would have been too heavy to bear on your own. There is a truth you must accept with gentle courage, that your pain has not made you less valuable, your broken moments have not made you unworthy, and your past has not made you unreachable, because the love of Jesus does not shrink away from scars, it leans closer, it holds tighter, and it redeems every part of you that you thought was too damaged to ever feel whole again. This message was hidden for a reason, not because it wasn't ready, but because you weren't ready, and that is not a sign of weakness, but of timing, because God in His wisdom protects us from receiving blessings too early, before we've grown the capacity to carry them with humility and purpose, and now, because your heart has matured through hardship and your faith has been tested in silence, heaven knows this is your time. Not everyone will understand what is happening to you right now, because divine shifts are often invisible at first. They begin in the unseen places, in your thoughts, in your peace, in your strength to say no to what no longer serves your growth, and even before your life looks different on the outside, something inside you will begin to change, and that is how heaven's work begins, quietly, deeply, and eternally. There are blessings that were delayed on purpose, not to punish you, but to protect you, because had they come too early, you might have settled for less than what was meant for you. But now, after walking through trials that shaped your heart and refined your soul, you are being positioned to receive not just what you desired, but what is right, what is holy, and what will truly last. Heaven has not forgotten the promises whispered over you in moments of prayer or worship, even the ones you let go of because they felt impossible, and those promises are not lost. They are waiting, ready to come forth now, because the same God who gave them has also prepared you to carry them with honor and wisdom, and nothing and no one can stop what has been ordained by divine love. Imagine a sound that gently guides your mind to release doubt and embrace possibility. For many, it feels like a doorway opening into freedom and abundance. This is about nurturing your inner strength and aligning with the energy of prosperity. Click the link in the description and comments below to experience this uplifting sound and allow your life to be filled with peace, hope, and the blessings waiting for you. Sometimes, the breakthrough doesn't come through a loud miracle, but through the quiet peace that fills your heart after years of restlessness, through the strength to forgive when you once held pain, or through the courage to dream again when you thought dreaming was too dangerous. And these are not small things. These are signs that heaven is near, that your healing is happening, and that your soul is rising. Type 1212 if you believe God is guiding you. You are not behind, no matter how long you've waited, and you have not missed anything that was truly meant for you, because the God who holds time also holds your name, and He is able to realign, restore, and reintroduce opportunities that you thought were long gone, in ways that will leave no doubt that it was His hand that moved on your behalf, and not luck or chance. Right now, the Spirit of God is hovering over the parts of your life that feel empty or broken, not to remind you of what you've lost, but to breathe into it again, to recreate beauty from ashes, and to lift your heart from the weight it's carried for too long, because this is not just recovery, it is resurrection, a holy rising, not just for your circumstances, but for your identity, your purpose, and your hope. Let this message remind you that you are not being punished for your past, you are being prepared for your promise, and the pain you've walked through is not a disqualification, it is a sign that you were strong enough to carry what would have crushed others, and because of that, God is trusting you now with something even greater, something sacred that carries eternal weight and divine light. You don't need to rush this season. Healing is not a race, and restoration does not come with pressure, but with peace, and what God is building in you is not just for now, but for the future you cannot yet see, a future where your story will be a light to others, your scars a testimony of survival, and your voice a healing sound to those who once felt alone as you did. Even now, as your spirit opens to these words, a holy comfort is being released into your heart, not as a feeling that fades, but as a deep knowing that remains, a soft certainty that you are not alone, never have been, and never will be, because the love of God is not a distant force, it is here, it is alive, it is personal, and it is embracing every piece of you without condition. So breathe slowly, gently, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment, and the rest of your story is not just being written, it is being blessed, every line soaked in mercy, every chapter held by grace, and every ending already redeemed by a God who finishes what he begins. Archangel Michael says, as we move into the next part of this sacred message, know that heaven is still speaking to your heart, still wrapping you in unseen comfort, still surrounding you with layers of peace that the world cannot explain, and although your mind may not understand everything that is unfolding, your spirit already recognizes the divine fingerprints being placed gently across your life. Type "I love God" to claim abundance through God's love. This message was never meant to overwhelm you, but to awaken you, to remind you of the deeper truth buried under the weight of survival, the kind of truth that does not shout, but whispers, not to demand attention, but to return you to the stillness where you first felt God's love, where you first heard him say that your life matters, not because of what you do, but because of who you are, his. Many people walk through life with heavy hearts, pretending to be strong, pretending to be fine, while secretly breaking inside, and you have carried that kind of weight too, the kind that no one could see, the kind you wore beneath smiles, beneath responsibilities, beneath silence, and that is why this message is so important, because it speaks not to the surface of your life, but to the quiet ache within you that has gone too long without being comforted. God has not just been watching you from a distance, he has been walking beside you through every shadowed hallway of fear, every sleepless night, every memory that brought tears instead of peace, and even in the moments where you felt too broken to pray, too numb to believe, too tired to hope, his presence never left your side, because his love is not dependent on your strength, it is constant, unshakable, and eternal. The battles you have faced were not just physical or emotional, they were spiritual, and you have been fighting things no one else knew about, thoughts that came like waves, fears that whispered lies, memories that tried to define you. But even in the middle of those storms, you held on, not perfectly, but faithfully, and that is why you are being honored right now with a blessing that is beyond understanding. Sometimes the greatest miracles do not arrive through open doors or loud changes, but through the quiet rebirth of peace inside your soul, through the gentle release of burdens you were never meant to carry, and through the restoration of joy in places that had grown numb, and those miracles are beginning even now, as you let each word settle deeper into your spirit, opening up space for God to do what only he can do. You were never meant to carry everything alone, and though life may have taught you to be strong, to be silent, to push through pain without showing weakness, God is teaching you something new now, how to rest in his love, how to let go without losing your identity, how to trust again without fear, and how to live fully even after seasons that made you feel half alive. Type 1313 to affirm strength through the Lord. There are places in your heart that were hardened by disappointment, by the crushing weight of unmet expectations, by the people who left without explanation, and by the prayers you thought were ignored, but God never stopped listening, and now, he is gently touching those very places, softening what was calloused, breathing warmth where there was coldness, and renewing what felt too far gone to ever be restored. You may not feel worthy of this kind of love, because the world has taught you to measure your value by performance, by comparison, by what others think or say, but heaven has never used those measurements, and to God, your worth is immeasurable, untouched by failure, unchanged by time, and rooted in something far deeper than anything this world can ever offer or take away. You are not too late for your calling, and you have not missed the doorway to your purpose, because God does not operate on human timelines, and what is meant for you is being divinely aligned right now, not because of your effort, but because of His mercy, and no delay, no detour, and no mistake has disqualified you from receiving the fullness of what was written over your life since the beginning. This is a sacred season of reawakening, where what once felt dull inside of you will begin to shine again, where the voice of doubt will grow quieter, and where the light of hope will rise stronger than the shadows that tried to dim your faith, because when heaven moves, it does not come to bring pressure. It comes to bring presence, to remind you that you were never forsaken, not even for a second. There is a healing unfolding within you that will not only change your life, but will become a light to others around you, not because you preach to them, but because the peace in your eyes will speak louder than words, the softness in your spirit will draw others in, and the kindness in your presence will reflect the very heart of Christ, who lives within you now more fully than ever before. Imagine listening to a frequency that gently guides your mind into balance, focus, and positivity. For some, this opens pathways to opportunities and a sense of freedom they hadn't felt before. It's about reconnecting with what is already within you and letting it flourish. Click the link in the video description and comments below to discover this uplifting sound and step into a life filled with greater peace and abundance. Let go of the fear that tells you nothing will change, because that fear is lying to you, trying to keep you stuck in cycles that are already breaking, and the proof is not always visible at first, but you will feel it. You will sense the shift in your thoughts, in your breathing, in your sleep, and in the way your soul begins to open up to joy again, little by little, like flowers returning after a long, cold season. You have been chosen not because you are stronger than others, but because you were willing to surrender, because you allowed your brokenness to become a doorway for God's glory, and because you let pain shape compassion in you instead of bitterness, and that kind of heart is rare, precious, and powerful in the kingdom of heaven. Type 1212 if you know God is guiding your steps. So keep holding on, not because you must struggle, but because what you are holding on to is not just survival. It is the promise that everything you have been through will be redeemed, that nothing was wasted, and that you are being prepared to carry something holy, something beautiful, and something that will outlast every fear, every loss, and every season of silence. Archangel Michael says, "What is reaching your heart right now is not merely a continuation of words, but the living echo of God's voice that has been gently calling your name in silence, waiting for the right moment to wrap you in truth so tender, so deep, that your soul would finally feel seen, not by people who misunderstand, but by the one who created you with care that no language can ever fully describe." You may not even realize how sacred this moment is, but heaven has been waiting for you to slow down, to breathe differently, to look away from everything pulling you into fear and instead look inward, where the spark of God's presence has always lived quietly within you, never dimmed, just waiting to be stirred again, like a candle that never burned out, just hid its flame until the storm passed. The weight you've been carrying wasn't just yours. It was inherited from pain, from loss, from voices that spoke over you things you never asked to hear, and from experiences that taught you to shrink instead of shine, to doubt instead of dream, and to harden instead of hope. But even in those places, God remained, not distant, but close, breathing grace into your bones until your spirit could rise again. There is a reason the enemy worked so hard to silence this message, because when your soul receives truth, the lies begin to fall apart, and everything that held you in chains, fear, guilt, shame, doubt, starts to lose its power, not because you fought harder, but because you finally allowed yourself to rest in the arms of a God who fights for you even when you don't have the strength to stand. You were never meant to earn this love, to prove your worth, or to perform your way into divine acceptance, because God chose you long before you made mistakes, long before the heartbreak, and long before you even knew how much you would need Him, and now He is drawing near not to judge you, but to remind you, your name has always been written on His heart, and nothing you've gone through has erased it. This is your moment of awakening, not in a dramatic way, but in a holy stillness where something within you begins to remember who you are, not who the world tried to label you as, not who your failures tried to convince you of, but who you've always been in the eyes of your Creator, beloved, chosen, cherished, and filled with divine light that no darkness has ever successfully destroyed. Type 999 if you trust Jesus with all your heart. You are not defined by the seasons of your suffering, and your identity is not shaped by the storms you walked through, but by the gentle love that carried you through each one, the kind of love that never let go of you, even when you let go of yourself for a while, and now that love is calling you back, not to a place, but to a state of being where your heart no longer has to pretend or perform to be accepted. Let yourself weep if you need to, because tears are not weakness. They are sacred rivers that carry your pain into God's hands, where they are transformed, drop by drop, into healing and renewal, and there is no shame in crying, no guilt in needing comfort, because even Jesus wept, and if He wept, then surely you can too, knowing that heaven is not disappointed in your emotions, but honors them as honest worship. This message is not about fixing you, it's about freeing you, about reminding you that you were never too far gone, never too messy, never too damaged for grace, and that what others saw as broken pieces, God saw as ingredients for a testimony so powerful that it would one day set others free simply by your presence, your compassion, and the quiet strength you now carry inside you. You have walked through fire, not to be consumed by it, but to come out refined, not just for your sake, but for the people your life will touch, the ones who will see your scars and find hope in them, not because your journey was easy, but because you survived, and in your survival, there is a holy message that no preacher could speak louder than your life already does. The turning point has arrived, and it does not require a sign in the sky or an earthquake beneath your feet. It begins with your choice to believe again, to trust the still, small voice within you that says you were made for more than just existing, that you were created to live fully, to love deeply, and to walk in a kind of peace that the world cannot understand or take away. There is a divine blessing already moving toward you, not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because heaven has decided that the time is now, and what was delayed before is no longer being held back, because your spirit has been prepared through fire and grace to receive what is holy, what is lasting, and what will make every waiting season finally make sense. This blessing will not just come in material ways, it will come through restored clarity, through moments of laughter that feel new again, through relationships that carry peace instead of tension, and through mornings where you no longer wake up dreading the day, but feeling held by something unseen, something unshakable, something beautifully eternal. You are not too late, too broken, or too far behind. You are exactly where you need to be for God's love to find you and for His healing to pour over every place that's been aching. And as this part closes, let your heart remain open, because what's ahead is not just hope, it is fulfillment, not just peace, it is purpose, and not just healing, it is the start of everything you once thought you lost. Archangel Michael says, the deeper we walk into this divine message, the more clearly heaven begins to uncover the truths your soul has been yearning to receive, and though the path behind you has often been filled with confusion and delay, what lies ahead is clarity wrapped in grace, peace covered in healing, and restoration shaped gently by the hands of the one who has always been near, even in silence. Type 1111 if you believe heaven is listening. What if prosperity was less about chance and more about tuning your thoughts? This unique sound wave is designed to help shift your mind into a state of calm and receptivity. Many listeners say it feels like stress fading and possibility appearing. Imagine doors opening where there once were walls. Click the link in the description and comments below to hear it for yourself and embrace a path filled with new opportunities. You may not see it yet, but something sacred is already beginning to shift around you and within you, something that was hidden behind pain, buried under fear, and silenced by the weight of what you've endured, and now that thing, your purpose, your promise, your divine inheritance, is rising, quietly at first, then powerfully, until even you cannot deny the hand of God moving in your life. There were moments when you doubted whether you would make it through, not because you lacked faith, but because the battle was long, and your heart was tired, and your prayers felt unanswered. But heaven never marked your struggle as failure, it recorded every tear, every moment of endurance, every cry for help, and turned it into a testimony that no darkness could erase. This message was blocked 3 times not by chance, but by resistance, because when truth finally enters a weary soul, chains begin to fall off, lies begin to unravel, and light begins to return where it was once forced into hiding, and your soul was made for light, created for love, formed by divine intention, and called to rise again even when the world told you to stay broken. You are not here by accident, you are listening because the time has come for restoration to begin not only around you, but deep within you, in the places you kept hidden even from yourself, and God, in His mercy, is not waiting for you to be ready, He is simply asking you to be willing, to open your heart enough to let Him come in and do what only divine love can do, heal you gently and completely. You have fought hard to survive, and that strength is seen and honored, but now it is time to receive, to let go of the mindset that says you must always be the strong one, the one who holds it together, the one who keeps smiling even when your heart is breaking, because God did not create you to carry it all alone, and His arms are open now, not in anger, but in invitation. This is a moment of surrender, not a giving up, but a holy letting go, where you release what was never yours to fix, never yours to carry, and never yours to solve, and in return, you receive what has always been waiting for you, peace that cannot be shaken, love that cannot be earned, and purpose that cannot be lost, because it was written over your life long before your first breath. Even now, as your spirit leans into these words, a divine exchange is taking place, your heaviness is being lifted, your confusion is being replaced with stillness, Your fear is being unraveled by the calm assurance that you are not walking through life alone, and the God who watches over galaxies is the same one holding you in his hand right now. Type 1010 to affirm that God's timing is perfect. You may have believed that you missed your moment, that too much time has passed, that your story was already written and sealed by the disappointments of your past, but God is not limited by time, and He is not bound by your mistakes, because what He has planned for you is still alive, still waiting, and still perfectly aligned with your future, and not a single moment has been wasted. The pain you went through is not your identity, it was only a chapter, and even the most broken chapters can become the most powerful parts of your story when placed in the hands of the one who specializes in redemption, and He is not afraid of your past, He is not surprised by your doubts, and He is not distant from your questions. He is present, patient, and filled with compassion. You are walking into a season where what was once confusing will begin to make sense, not because all the answers will suddenly appear, but because your heart will find rest in knowing that God is leading you, that He has never stopped working behind the scenes, and that the same hands that carried you through the fire are now guiding you into peace. This peace will not be loud or dramatic, it will come softly, like a warm wind on a quiet evening, like laughter returning after years of sorrow, like hope flickering back to life in the very place where despair once ruled, and it will not leave you, because it is not dependent on your circumstances, it is anchored in the eternal presence of the One who is peace Himself. There will be people who do not understand what is changing in you, because they cannot see the invisible shift happening in your soul, but that is okay. You are not being transformed for their understanding, you are being restored for your calling, and the people meant to walk with you will recognize the light returning to your eyes, the calm returning to your words, and the power returning to your spirit. You don't need to rush or force this healing, it is unfolding exactly as it should, in God's time, not yours, and you will not miss what is meant for you, because the grace that is covering your life is bigger than any fear, stronger than any delay, and more faithful than every promise made by human lips, because it is spoken directly from heaven. So breathe in this moment as sacred, as holy, and as real as the beating of your heart, and let every word settle like soft rain upon your soul, because what you are experiencing is not just a message, it is divine restoration, and it will continue to grow, to heal, and to guide you into everything that was prepared just for you from the beginning. This is not a moment to fear, it is a moment to breathe deeply, to let go of every defense you built to survive, to stop fighting battles that God has already declared finished, and to surrender into the arms of the One who has waited patiently for you to stop running, not to scold you, but to hold you, to whisper again that your life is not an accident, your pain is not wasted, and your destiny is still alive. The reason this message was hidden, delayed, and resisted is because it carries something sacred, something the enemy knew would free you from the lies you were tricked into believing for far too long, lies that told you you're not enough, that you're unlovable, that your future is uncertain, and that your prayers were unheard. But every single one of those lies begins to lose its power when truth enters, and truth has arrived. You are not forgotten, not misplaced in the grand plan of creation, not pushed to the side by heaven, rather, you are held in the center of divine attention, watched over with unrelenting care, and known more deeply than even you know yourself, and that kind of knowing is not cold or distant, it is tender, it is affectionate, and it is woven with compassion that never runs out. There have been moments where you blamed yourself for things you couldn't control, where you carried guilt for choices you didn't make, where you took responsibility for pain that wasn't yours to bear, and where you believed you were too complicated, too broken, or too far behind to be loved completely. But God never saw you that way, and He never will, because His love does not come with conditions, and His grace does not stop at your limits. You do not have to keep proving your worth to a world that doesn't see your heart, because the one who formed your heart already called it good, already called it chosen, and already declared that you are worthy of every beautiful thing He has written over your life, and no amount of rejection, betrayal, or failure can ever cancel what God has confirmed. This is a sacred unveiling, a quiet breakthrough that doesn't need fireworks or applause to be powerful, because sometimes, the greatest transformation happens in the stillness, in the spaces where no one else sees, where your tears fall unnoticed by others but caught by heaven, where your silent victories go uncelebrated by the world but honored by angels, and where your heart finally says yes to healing, even if it doesn't understand how it will come. And healing will come, not just in one area, but in all the places that you thought would remain empty forever, and it will come softly, in waves of peace you didn't expect, in moments of rest you never thought you'd have again, and in the slow but certain return of joy, not the shallow kind, but the kind that takes root deep inside your soul and stays through every season. You are not starting from scratch. You are beginning again with wisdom, with depth, with strength that was carved through pain, and with faith that no storm could wash away, and while others may only see what's on the surface, heaven sees everything you had to walk through to arrive here, and because of that, you are not just ready, you are ripe for the blessing, for the restoration, for the peace that's been promised to you all along. What if a simple 7-minute frequency could help your thoughts focus on prosperity and peace? Listeners often share how it brings clarity, motivation, and an uplifting sense of direction. Instead of worry, imagine welcoming calm energy that supports your goals and dreams. Click the link in the description and comments below to listen and experience how this sound can guide you toward a brighter, more abundant tomorrow. There are doors opening now that no man can shut, and not because you forced them open, but because God is opening them for you, in alignment with your healing, in timing with your growth, and in response to the parts of you that kept choosing to believe even when belief felt fragile. And when you see what unfolds, you will know without doubt that this was never random, it was always divine. Let this be the part of your journey where you stop apologizing for your sensitivity, for your softness, for your desire to feel deeply and love fully, because those are not weaknesses, they are reflections of your Creator, and you were made to carry light, to carry peace, and to carry a voice that brings comfort to others even when your own voice once trembled under the weight of silence. And now, silence is being broken, not by noise, but by truth, truth that says you are still chosen, still guided, still being led by hands that will never let you fall, and truth that says even in the moments where you feel lost, you are still on holy ground, because God is not waiting for you at the finish line. He is walking beside you, matching your pace, meeting you in the middle of the mess and still calling it sacred. So let this message breathe into you, not just as words, but as healing, as realignment, as the reassurance that nothing is missing, nothing is wasted, and nothing is over, not the dream, not the purpose, not the love that was meant for you, and every part of your journey is now being gathered, redeemed, and rewritten into something beautiful by the hand of God Himself. Amen.